Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The 3 Count. I am the face of the 3 Count Mafia. Yeah. War Machine MJ, and at the time of recording this, we are mere hours away from Monday Night Raw, and I completely forgot to record this. So, yeah, let's go and get jumping into the rest of the WWE programming we didn't cover last week. First off, let me go ahead and start off with something not as important and something that I'm not going to be giving my attention to. I'll explain it in another video. Not now, but later. The Mixed Match Challenge. Yeah. We're not going to cover Mixed Match Challenge in full detail anymore. We're just going to throw out the results and do with what have you. Yeah, but on this week's episode of Mixed Match Challenge, Team Country Dominance, I don't know why they give them that fucking name, and Team Asuka picked up victories, so whoop-de-doo. I couldn't give any more crap about Mixed Match Challenge. Anyway, let's move on to Smackdown 1000. Yes, this past week was the 1000th episode of Smackdown Live, or Smackdown. Whatever, whenever you grew up, whenever you grew up with it, or where you watched it grow up. We started off with episode 2 of Truth TV with more dance breaks. Now it's a good thing that they finally got something for R-Truth to do instead of being the funny guy to Ty Dillinger's straight man. Anyway, Stephanie McMahon came out there and kind of stroked her own ego a bit, saying, "Oh, I was very first SmackDown general manager." Then Shane O'Mac came back after a long and much needed hiatus. You know, it was nice to see him back after him not being on every show every week, every 5 minutes of every 5 seconds. But enough about that. They started bickering back and forth, and Vinnie Mac came out there. It's like nobody came out there, nobody's come here to watch you two bicker, so dance break. Then old Vinnie Mac busted a move. Next up, we got catapulted straight into a tag team match. It was the Usos taking on Daniel Bryan and the phenomenal AJ Styles, to which one miscue between Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, which led to the win of the Usos. I mean, technically, the Usos could challenge for the WWE Championship. They pinned the phenomenal one, or did they pin Daniel Bryan? Who cares? Who cares? Usos aren't going to be on TV next week anyways, or tomorrow night, I should say. Next, we had my absolute segment of the night. My favorite segment of SmackDown 1000, for as weird as a show as it was. It was the reunion of Evolution. A group that had dominated, parentheses, Monday Night Raw. Yeah. Like that. It was nice to see them again, because when they were running Ruckshot over Raw is when I started watching wrestling, so it's nice to see them. And like I told Rod, even though they weren't a SmackDown team, you know, even though they weren't running Ruckshot over SmackDown, they had more star power than JBL's cabinet. Where are those jamokes now? Anyway, no, all 4 guys in this Evolution segment looked like they really had a blast. Randy Orton was back to that legend killer status. You know, he was just was putting himself over, and he was pretty cocky about it. Um, threw a playful insult Triple H and Ric Flair's way, and then hit Batista with an oof when he said Dave spent more time in a makeup chair than he has in the WWE ring. Mm, it's kind of fire. Then Triple H, Ric Flair, they had fun with it, but the real star of the night was Batista. You know, because he put over. He said there are 4 reasons why he came back. First off was the fans. Second off was because they were in DC. Third, it's because he missed being in WWE so much. And fourth, it was for his team, for Evolution. He put over Orton. He humored him. Then he and Rick just killed it, because Rick started getting into his woo 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 state, and then Batista said, what can be said about this man that can't be said, other than the fact that this is a family show. Keeping your pants, Rick. Then he made Rick laugh, and it was fucking hilarious. And then came shot across the bow when Batista, he was praising Triple H, and then he said, "You've done everything in the business except beat me." And it was oof. If only they could capitalize on this, but instead they're going to run away. Anyway, after an intense stare down between the two of them, it took Ric Flair, calming down, and they all just hugged it out, and that was the end of the segment. It's nice. Love that segment. Segment of the night and segment of the year. Now on to something that won't be getting segment of the night or the year. It was the last of two. Yeah, well, let's roll with it. The last of two WWE World Cup to determine the best in the World Cup qualifier match, where the winner will move on to claim that they are the best in the world, while the loser does not claim that they are the best in the world. It's just they plug best in the world so much, even though this tournament is complete horseshit. Anyway, The Miz defeated Rusev in record time, 2 minutes. Barely even 2 minutes at that. Come back from break. The match just started. Aiden English came out there, distracted Rusev for a roll-up. Yeah. Next was the second best segment of the night. It was the return of the Cutting Edge and its host, the Rated R Superstar Edge. He came out there and he asked his guest out there, Becky Lynch, Sexalicious Becky Lynch. And he basically gave her a life lesson. He said, I see what you're becoming. You remind me a lot of when I was like you. But don't go down that path, because when you're retired, you'll look back at a bunch of empty titles on your wall, or something to that degree. And he said something along the lines of you won't like yourself anymore. And Becky went, yeah, you're right. I don't like myself. I love myself. If I can get my words right, Then she lambasted Edge. Just told him to get out of her ring before he breaks his neck. Mmm. Then then Becky and Charlotte just brawled. You know, Charlotte came out there to save the day. Anyway, next up was for the Smackdown Tag Team titles. It was the New Day. You see, it really helps if the other guys are here. Anyway, it was the New Day taking on the Bar. Sorry. The Bar. Yeah, because for some reason they had Booker T and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary, even though they got 5 seconds of snippet. Like, they barely got any dialogue in. Anyway, this was another classic match. These two teams can do no wrong. But towards the end of the match, Sheamus tried to win with his feet on the ropes, you know, kind of pin. Kofi, you know, being the third man out, ran over, slapped Sheamus' feet off, you know, tried to justify his actions. And out comes someone who could always do wrong. Whoever the hell is writing these turns for Big Show. Because What Culture did a running tally, and I think they're up to 27 turns. Anyway, Big Show came out there and it looked like he was trying to chase off the Bar from roughing up Kofi. So Big Show picked up Kofi, chokeslammed him through the extra announce table where Booker T and Jerry the King Lawler were at. Big E was so distracted he walked right into a bro kick. 1, 2, 3. The Bar are the new tag champs. At this point, I don't really care what Big Show's reasoning was for joining the Bar. I'm just sitting here waiting for heel face turn number 28. But I mean, credit to Big Show. At least he doesn't want to end up as a part-timer. He wants to keep wrestling until he can't go no more. Anyway, the next spot was the second World Cup, Best in the World qualifying cup, World Best in Horseshit. It was the current United States champion, the King of Strong Style, Shinsuke Nakamura, taking on a returning 4-year absent Rey Mysterio. Let's see. It'd be the first time he wrestled on Smackdown in 4 years. And he looks tremendous shape. I haven't seen this man since September 1st. All in. No, he really does. He really does look in phenomenal shape. I follow him on Facebook, and I see that he's doing the meal preps and the intense workouts. So, credit to him, he looks amazing. Especially since he ditched those baggy wrestling pants he always wore. Anyway, he beat Shinsuke in short order. So he's going to move on to the WWE World America Best in the World Horseshit Trophy. Yeah, this World Cup thing for Crown Jewel is kind of... it's horseshit. It's a World Cup. Yet you have 7 superstars representing US of A and 1 Rey Mysterio. Boy. Anyway, Yeah, the ending came quick because they were running into the next segment, which was Undertaker coming out and saying, DX at Crown Jewel, I've got 3 words for you. Rest in peace. Then he walked up the ramp, did this number right here, and on to the Purge. Yeah, SmackDown 1000, while I had some good moments, it was a weirdly paced show. Like, they cut a bunch of segments from the show. James Ellsworth was supposed to be there. Sanity T something. It was a weird show. They didn't know what they were doing. They paced it wrong. Anyway, let's move on to 205 Live. So, started the show off with Akira Tozawa and Drew Gulak. Akira Tozawa, who is just now fodder at this point. Their match ended in a no contest when Jack Gallagher interfered. You know, the two of them beat down on Tozawa until the Brian Kendrick came out, made the save. Yada yada yada. And next up, we had all this build up for next week. We're gonna have the debut of the Canellises on 205 Live this week, as I think it said shit, doesn't say on here. Anyway, I think they said Mike Kanellis is going to take on Lince Dorado, Power Ranger Lince Dorado. So, we'll wait and see. But of course, next week is also Hideo Itami and Mustafa Ali. Saw his face, I just blanked on the name for a minute there. It's going to be a Falls Count Anywhere match. And to hype this up, they cut a backstage promo with Hideo Itami, which was, great. He brought the usual fire and intensity he does. The respect me, spiel, all that. But Mustafa Ali's promo, though, this dude puts all those generic ass promos to shame, because it's like this guy studied cinematography or something before he became a wrestler, because he cut a promo on the on the streets, like he was walking through some neighborhood or something or another, with this really really nice camera that you see on the set of a a motion picture. Anyway, he was doing so in a downpour, and he was just, every line was fire. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was great. There was intensity behind it. It was like something out of a movie. It was amazing. Have this guy do his own promos from now on, because this guy is straight murdering it. It's fantastic. Anyway, which led to 205 Live's main event. It was a fatal 5-way. Not really anything on the line, just a fatal 5-way between Tony Nese, the former Cruiserweight champion, Cedric Alexander, Grand Metalik, the 23-year-old piece of gold, Leo Rush, and the first ever Cruiserweight champion, TJP. This match was balls to the wall, amazing, with everybody telling their own little unique story and all that. But it was Tony Nese beating Cedric Alexander 2 weeks in a row. We might have a crisis of confidence story here, where Cedric, after being undefeated for most of 2018, being Cruiserweight Champion since WrestleMania. He's lost 2 matches in a row to the same guy. And he might be questioning whether or not he's got it. Either that or we might see a Cedric heel turn, which we don't need to see that, not right now, because 205 Live is already stacked with heels. Wouldn't make sense to turn him heel, now would it? Although I think he'd kill it as a heel. Alright, next up, we move on to... Oof. This is going to be a big, big episode. And next, we move on to the black and yellow brand NXT. Where this episode might as well be redubbed the Adam Cole Baby Friends and Family Hour. Friends and Family Hour. Because we start off the show with war. The War Raiders, Hanson and Ray Rowe, taking on the Undisputed Era's Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly for the NXT Tag Team Championship. This match, straight, absolute, goddamn fire. Both teams absolutely killed it, and boiling down to the, getting closer to the finish, when War Raiders were on the upswing, about to win it all, Adam Cole, baby, makes his appearance to, to protect his investments, or his friends, whichever one you want to call it. He got taken out, and then a couple of, well, he got taken out by a suicide dive from Hanson. I don't know how that big guy can fly. I honestly do not. Anyway, then when War Raiders were finally on the cusp of winning, out comes Bobby Fish of the Era. Steel chair in hand, starts tearing into Hanson and Rowe. Sets up Hanson for the total eliminator. NXT is still undisputed. Next up, we had a, well, to borrow from Lucha Underground, a sacrifice to the gods. As Dr. Britt Baker made her debut in NXT, Adam Cole's baby, for those of you who's not aware. However, she was fed to Shayna Baszler in short order. Shayna broke her arm and then kicked her while she was down. So they had to throw the match out. Shayna Baszler won via referee stoppage. Then next up we had the return of Lorcan and Birch. The Brit American connection. They really got to come up with a catchier name for them. Anyway, they defeated NXT recruits Tion Bing and Rocky, which, as the time of this recording, Tion Bing, he's been released from NXT. He got bounced from the coop, as it were, which led to our main event. It was a rematch between the EST of NXT, the undefeated Bianca Belair, taking on the Twisted Sister, Wifey Cross. This was a absolute killer of a match. Bell to bell, these ladies brought every slice of intensity they could muster, and it was amazing. But towards the end of the match, sorry, I'm doing something else. Anyway, towards the end of the match, Nikki Cross hit a superplex off the top rope. Both ladies are laying there for a good, 5 seconds. Lights go down. Lights come back up. Bianca Belair is nowhere to be found. However, in the ring is the former NXT champion, Aleister Black. Just cross-legged, sitting there staring at Nikki Cross. And she's rolling around laughing, and it is so freaking adorable. Aleister just looks at her, does this number right here, and she just kind of crawls up to him, saying, I know. So she gets up in Aleister's ear, whispers in his ear about who the attacker is, and this man is so pissed he hisses. Not gonna lie. So yeah, he's about to burn the NXT to the ground, trying to find whoever attacked it. I know that they've released spoilers on it, but I have avoided spoilers. I want to know who this is, because this story has legitimately stumped me. I've got one person. I got one person left. I'm not going to say who it is, but they destroyed my initial 3. Because I had Tommaso Ciampa pegged. I had Lars Sullivan pegged. I even had Cassius Ohno pegged, but nope. Anyway, on to the Mae Young Classic. This week we had the quarterfinals. And this week is going to be the semifinals. In the first match we had the final boss of women's wrestling, Meiko Satomura, defeating the young upstart Lacey Lane in a really good match. This match was killer. In fact, this whole tourney's been killer. Next up, we had the Genius of the Sky, Little Miss Io Shirai, defeating the virtuoso of the Fujiwara armbar, Deonna Purrazzo, in another stellar match. Then we had the sheer and utter heartbreak of the tournament as Rhea Ripley defeated Tegan Nox via stoppage. Tegan Nox, she hit a suicide dive, but her leg landed really awkwardly, and she absolutely tore everything in her other knee. She was pegged for last year's tournament, but she tore her right ACL in the last tournament, which prevented her from entering. But this time she made it in the tournament, but her left knee was completely torn. And yeah, it's such a heartbreak. And it is a heartbreak because I love her work, especially her work back in What Culture Pro Wrestling. She was great there, and it's just a shame to see her get bounced out of the tournament that way. I imagine if she didn't get her if her knee wasn't almost destroyed, I had a feeling she would have at least made it to the finals. Who knows? But the final match was Toni Storm defeating Mia Yim, to secure the last spot in the semifinals. Which Mia Yim, I'm so happy they signed her. She does great work, and it's really well deserved that that WWE signs her, which they did. So we are less than a week away. In fact, we're 6 days away from Evolution. Evolution was on Smackdown. Evolution is this Sunday. Yeah, because this is Monday the 22nd as of recording. Yeah. We have one more round between us and the finals at Evolution. The finals are going to be a barn burner. Anyway, next up, on to the last show of the week. It was the debut of the Black and Yellow brand over in the UK. It was the debut of NXT UK, which they've already recorded these shows earlier this year, so a lot of this is probably, old news to those who attended the tapings. Anyway, we had the first match, the Iron King, Joe Coffey, accompanied by his brother Mark Coffey, taking on Mark Andrews. The high-fiving, stage-diving, high-flying Mark Andrews, the rock star, does his own thing, does his own entrance music and whatnot. Yeah, he came up short against Joe Coffey. I mean, how can you bet against the big man? Which the Coffey brothers then turned to destroy Mark Andrews until the King of Mob Style, Flash Morgan Webster, came out there and beat both Coffeys down with his helmet. It's not an innuendo. He actually had a helmet and he beat him down with it. Next up we had, how can you not love these guys, Mustache Mountain, coming down and throwing out the gauntlet over the NXT UK Tag Team division. Saying, we were NXT Tag Team Champions. Well, we're not going to get another shot at those belts again. We are going to be the first ever NXT UK Tag Team Champions. Which, those belts look fantastic. Real old school. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're really good. Next up we had Sid Scala getting his ass handed to him by Massive Dave Mastiff, or the Bomber as they call it. Not much to say on there. It was a one-sided affair, as Dave Mastiff, who was the bigger of the two, just destroyed Sid Scala. Next up we had Toni Storm defeating Nia Samuels. Who doesn't like Toni Storm? She's great. And in the main event we had the Bruiserweight, Pete Dunne, defending his NXT. They need to really get on the same page with this, because it's NXT UK, but it's the WWE UK title. All these fucking anagrams. I swear. Anyway, defending his UK title against the Scottish Supernova, the #1 contender for the UK Championship, Noam Dar. And this was a brutal match. Stiff strikes, a lot of joint manipulation, even some finger snapping. But no surprise, the Bruiserweight retained his NXT UK title against Noam Dar with the bitter end. Afterwards, there was a show of a rather unique show of respect. Pete Dunne was going to go uncharacteristically shake the hand of Noam Dar. Noam Dar decided to go for it, but then both men threw pinkies up, and it was a fun time. But yeah, if that's the first episode of NXT UK, I am waiting on the edge of my seat for the rest of the episodes. Oh man, it's going to be amazing. After what feels like eons of them teasing it, they finally go through with it. And it's right from the jump, it's great. Anyway, that is the week of... Yeah, that's last week's WWE programming. SmackDown 1000 all the way to NXT UK. With the exception of Mixed Match Challenge, which nobody gives a shit about that. Anyway, yeah. As far as things coming up, we're gonna do a post review of Monday Night Raw tonight. That's gonna go up tomorrow. We're also gonna be doing some well, we're gonna be bringing back some old shows from our Wonder Shop days. You know, stay tuned for those. And oh yeah, don't forget to come back this weekend for our paper preview of WWE Evolution. Not Evolution. Remember, those guys were on Smackdown last week. It's Evolution. How did they say this? The first ever all women's pay-per-view parentheses in WWE. Anyway, I have been the War Machine MJ representing the 3 Count Mafia, and we will see you guys next time.